The Kirby vacuum, hailed as the ultimate cleaner, but here's my experience with it. The cost of one of these things is frightening. The door-to-door salespeople could expect you to pay thousands for one of the machines. That's several times the cost of the latest £600 Dyson V11, which advocates of Kirby machines are quick to show outrage towards, which doesn't really make sense when you think about it. The quick counter-defense is that Kirby's are cheaper second-hand from charity shops and the like, but apparently that excuse isn't applicable to other high-end brands. You can't actually just go to a shop and buy one of these. You've got to let some salesperson come into your house, like it's the 1970s, who will apparently pressure you into paying full price, lest you be savvy at bargaining. This sales practice is widely criticised and has no place in modern society, and if Kirby's are as good as they claim, it's a bit of a mystery why they aren't in the shops or orderable online along with everything else. The first thing that struck me was the sheer weight of this thing. It's essentially a colossal block of metal, and that's not an exaggeration. It weighs so much that I don't actually have the means to weigh it. Specs say it's over 10 kilograms, which is not just impractical, but dangerous for an item you're supposed to be moving around. This is in contrast to modern cordless mains equivalent cleaners, which are optimized to be around 3 kilograms, and most of that is the battery weight. That makes the Kirby 3 times heavier than the best modern vacuums, and it really has an impact on usage, as I'll show later. You might think that a solid block of metal would mean the machine is durable. Cosmetically, the solid metal bits obviously are, but durable means more than the surface of the machine. It means how likely is any given working part of it to fail. The technology in the Kirby is astoundingly crude. A motor turns an impeller and blows a large current of air from the head into a porous bag. The brush bar is driven by a belt and is one of the weakest parts of the system most likely to fail. You'll be changing belts frequently throughout its allegedly huge lifetime. We've done away with belts nowadays and the horrid unswept lines they leave in the carpet. Anything with a running cost or expected replacement subparts can't be classed as durable. Other weak links include the motor fan, which can be damaged if you pick up sharp hard objects like drawing pins. These weak links have been eliminated now from modern vacuums. There's also no evidence the advanced polymer blends used instead of metals in the best modern cleaners are any less durable, and they have the advantage of being lighter. Arguing that something that lasts longer is greener isn't necessarily true either, because new technology is often more efficient and consumes less overall resources in the longer term. Trying to use one of these beasts is a seriously cumbersome nightmare. Where to start? We've already discussed the weight, which is absolutely ridiculous. Trying to lift this thing is a nightmare and really dangerous. If you drop this on your foot, you're in real trouble. I've bashed my toes and bruised my shins on the hard metals so many times. And while recording these clips, I actually pulled a muscle in my shoulder handling it and was in a lot of pain for over a week. This is unbelievable. The weight of this thing is so dangerous that if it were to be used in the workplace today, it would actually require personal protective equipment like safety shoes. The number of times I've accidentally run over my toe with its big wheels, and it hurts. Seriously, we've moved on from this a long time ago. Plus, it's mains powered, so you've got the hassle of having to unwind the cord, find a plug, change plugs and so on if you're in a larger house, and wind it back up when you're done. Again, we've moved on from this now, and it's all completely avoidable hassle. We clean our homes in a more bite-sized, smarter way now, and have done away with the mythical, big, tiring weekly chore mega clean of the whole house. And when you finally get it in position, it's a complete nightmare to maneuver. It's lumbered with 2 fixed wheels, which makes it very difficult to drive outside a straight line. There are some tight spots that require tight turns in my living room, and you just can't do it with this machine. It's actually genuinely impractical to move, and a world away from the total freedom of movement of ball technology and equivalent. Most brands have copied off Dyson by now, and put some crude clone of their enhanced movement tech on the machines, which is still a huge improvement over this ancient nonsense. But the Kirby is worse to move than even this. Its stunning weight adds hugely to inertia, and pushing it forwards and backwards is a genuine workout. Compounding this, the clean head opening has a huge surface area. The crude simple motor might not have much suction, but even a small pressure difference over that size of surface area creates a huge head clamping force. The machine is literally unmovable when it's on, and hugely worse than any vacuum I've ever tried, including the Dyson DC41. Rather than fix the problems at the source, they tried to brute force their way around it. The kludge was what they call tech drive. To activate it, you've got to pig around with a dial at the back of the machine, and when it's on, it uses even more power to mechanically drive the wheels forwards and backwards as you push and pull. Takes a bit of getting used to and does solve the clamping issue, but creates two new problems. Firstly, it adds even more noise, and I'll show the noise measurements later. Secondly, when you turn it off, you're back to square one and can't move the vacuum even when it's unpowered because it's all gear locked, and you need to start fiddling with the tech drive switch at the back again to release it. It's a poor solution to a problem that should have been better addressed, and has been by better products. And because of the sheer weight of this thing, driving it around with the tech drive means if you clout a corner of your skirting boards or something, you really damage it. Really hard, heavy metal being tech drive smashed into your delicate home. I'm not making this up, it actually happens. And the tech drive isn't the only fiddle you've got to deal with to use this damn thing. Because it's such a crude piece of tech, you've got to manually adjust the height of the cleaner head, and this is done by faffing around with another set of controls in the form of ratchet and lift pedals. Again, we've completely moved beyond this crudeness now, and the superior cleaners automatically work on all floor heights without any user intervention. But the worst impracticality of the Kirby is one of its most strongly marketed aspects, its tools. My god, it's possibly the greatest pain in the backside if you want to do any above floor or stairs cleaning. You actually have to physically remove a solid metal head which weighs an absolute ton just to attach a hose or tool. This is crazy! Who thought this was a good idea? After all these years, despite the competition soaring vastly beyond this. The tools themselves aren't amazing, and there's just way too many of them. They market this Swiss Army knife diversity as a good thing, but it's not. You've got to buy and then store all these things, and most are rarely used. The carpet shampooer, for example. Total arse to set up, and stupid technology anyway. As already discussed, you shouldn't even be wetting carpets for a whole host of reasons, and dry cleaning is a much better approach, as already shown both in my video in the first link in the description, and in scientific studies. But the most utterly absurd impracticality comes with stairs cleaning. It's frightening what you're expected to do. You've got to detach the actual vacuum bag, remove the entire main handle and store it somewhere. Get a mini handle out of the cupboard and plug it in. Then bend the bag in two and attach it to the handle. Now you've got to actually use the entire block of metal for a machine as a sort of crude 10 kilogram handheld and precariously vacuum the stairs. You have no idea how heavy this is and how seriously dangerous it is carrying this much weight whilst balancing on a set of stairs. This is borderline reckless design. I was sweating when I'd finished, my arms were aching and I was out of breath. The brush bar is very aggressive and it's so near your fingers. And after all that, because it's such a massive and awkward head, you can't get into all the nooks and crannies and you're left with huge regions you've missed. This is surely a joke. Just look how easily modern technology achieves the same goal and gets a better cleaning result. Much quicker, safer and easier. I couldn't help but reflect on the Kirby fans that complain the Dyson Cordless cleaner is tiring on their wrist. Apparently this Kirby isn't though. How does that make any sense? That really tells you something about the quality of those opinions. Eventually, you'll have to empty this thing. Modern approaches take literally 5 seconds, incur no cost, and make absolutely no mess, as I've shown in the video in the second link in the description. Not the Kirby though. You've got to unzip the outer bag to get to the inner bag, then lift it out, twist it in a fiddly way until it unlatches, pull the bag off, you get a cloud of dust in your face every time the bag moves. Then you've got to throw the whole thing away wastefully, which I'll come on to more later, and then get a fresh bag, assuming you have some in stock, to put it in the reverse process. Messy, costly, and time-consuming hassle. There's also a weird light at the front of the head. I've never understood the point of these lights. Who vacuums in the dark? Most rooms are lit well enough that you can still see what you're doing, even in nooks and crannies. Plus, the head's too big to fit into a tight dark corner anyway. It literally adds nothing of value and is another thing that can break and needs replacing. Totally pointless. Let's talk about the noise. Holy crap, what a racket. I used a sound level meter to measure the loudness of the Kirby relative to the V10 in its 3 modes at a distance of 1 meter. The Kirby, without tech drive active, is 81.2 decibels and 82.2 decibels with it on. This is in contrast to the relatively quiet operation of the V10, which is 71.2 decibels in mode 1, 74.5 decibels in mode 2, and 77 decibels in mode 3. The Kirby is heard by the human ear as almost twice as loud as the V10 in mode 2. It's horridly noisy, compounding the horrors of using it. We've moved way beyond this crude noisy tech nowadays, and the Kirby wouldn't even be allowed to be sold in the EU with that level of noise pollution. If you had to sell a kidney just to afford this daylight robbery junk tech, you'll have to sell the other one just to keep it running properly and maintained. A pack of 6 Micron Magic bags will set you back £17. There's actually a user charge just to empty this thing, which over its alleged decade's lifetime is going to add up. You could try and skimp and cram as much dirt into a bag as possible, but the thing starts to stink to high heaven way before it even nears being full. So you could buy perfumes to try and mask the smell, but then you're spending money there now too, and some people don't even like perfumes. I've actually fairly tried a bagged cleaner now, and just as predicted, I've seen literally no advantage whatsoever to using bags and only disadvantages. It's cost me a fortune. Everything I said in the video and the third link in the description is 100% true now I've experienced it for myself. Bags have absolutely no benefit over the best bagless technology, and of course is the reason why bagged cleaners have mostly gone the way of the dodo for home users. As mentioned earlier, the technology driving the brush bar is very crude and requires belts which can break. A pack of 3 belts will set you back £11 a time. You're also expected to have this machine serviced to keep it running. Some companies out there charge a fee of £120 for an annual service, although some are cheaper. As you can see, these costs are thick and fast, and if you're using this for decades as enthusiasts brag about, that's a seriously expensive tax for using crude old technology. Add into the buying cost, you're looking at several £1,000s just to have owned a machine like this. No wonder they're not sold in shops. This cleaner may very well last decades, but using old and inefficient technology for that long adds to the environmental impact. Admittedly, its motor is only 635 watts, but that's still a lot more than modern cordless cleaners use to achieve better cleaning results. In fairness, at least the Kirby doesn't also need filters like other bagged cleaners. But measurements of the Kirby have shown it doesn't have very good emissions quality and isn't as HEPA filtered as they'd like you to believe. The emissions test data was never in doubt in the otherwise flawed EU performance labels. The bags, belts, perfumes and other disposables needed for this technology all add to landfill, which scales hugely across the nation and is wholly avoidable now. It may well have a long lifetime, but the reality is, many don't treat them well, causing premature failure, and they're disposed of. So any product which is expensive for the environment to manufacture is bad. This product uses huge amounts of materials as evidenced by the dangerously high weight, and all those materials have a cost to make and transport even before they're disposed of. The Kirby is a very environmentally unfriendly appliance, and we've moved well beyond this now. Of course, enthusiasts are all but ready to completely ignore all this horror because they rely exclusively on the alleged superior performance of a Kirby to justify its value. However, as shown in the testing video in the 4th link in the description, the alleged Kirby performance was shown to be one colossal myth, peddled into an outright lie. During testing which doesn't allow trickery, cheating or surreptitious dodgy bypassing of limitations, the Kirby can't even perform as well as the best modern high-end cordless stick vacs. This is devastating for the last bastion of hope for this device. No wonder Kirby never actually provided any formal testing data of the product they were so keen to tout was amazing. It just isn't as good overall as other cleaners, as the data shows. In fairness, the data did show it was a good surface cleaner, but wasn't a good deep cleaner on common fitted carpets. Its high unimpeded airflow, as often measured at the open hose, and its aggressive brush roll were shown to have no value for deep cleaning, as shown in videos 5 and 6. So let's take a quick look at its hard floor cleaning performance. While it's often said this vacuum is tailored for carpets, modern cleaners are expected to, and actually do, perform exceptionally well on all floor types. For a start, the Kirby doesn't automatically transition to hard floor, because its poor design means the overly aggressive brush bar is at risk of causing damage. So you've got to fiddle around with the dial at the front and remove the belt first, which is impractical. You can see here that with fine dust, or flour in this case, the Kirby simply doesn't perform. It also badly snowplows larger particles and is fairly useless for hard floor cleaning. I was always encouraged to try a bag cleaner, and specifically a Kirby, because they were apparently so good. I can now safely say, without hyperbole, that this is the worst vacuum I've ever used in my life, and that includes the Henry I've reviewed in the 7th description link. Its overall cleaning performance is mediocre, and it's so unbelievably impractical that I'm starting to think people are borderline insane for ever suggesting this was worth attention in a modern world. I can't believe people were advocating these things. This is tribalism taken to extremist levels. I've genuinely lost all respect for those who advocated these machines. There's enough objective evidence here to show deep-rooted opinions in favour of them are in conflict with facts. We've moved on from this dire technology, and there's just no place for it anymore. If I try to find one positive thing to say about it in ending, it's that it at least turned on, and is a decent surface cleaner on carpet and loose shaggy rows. But it's mediocre at deep cleaning fitted carpets and completely crap for hard floor or above floor cleaning. I encourage anyone who isn't a dusty collector to avoid buying them, sell it if you have one, and buy a much better and more modern cleaner. If you can afford to buy a Kirby, you can easily afford the latest Dyson Cordless stick vac, and they're far the best overall cleaners on the market across the board, despite the false rumours to the contrary, peddled, unsurprisingly, by the Kirby and old-fashioned bag cleaner fans who rely more on tribal worldviews than facts. Don't be fooled. Avoid bagged and mains powered technology going forward, which has had its day. Save up and get a Dyson Cordless stick vac. They're the future, way ahead of the competition, and genuinely brilliant as the data shows. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and experiences of the Kirby, and thanks for watching.